Peace. Welcome to the show. This right here is Humble Beginnings, where we simply live it through. I know sometimes when I say this, y'all gonna be like, yo, did he make sure he explains this every single time? But when I say we simply live it through, it simply means that no matter what road comes across us, no matter what adversity or diversity, all we can do is walk the path accordingly. That's all we can do. In this thing we call life, that's all we can do.
Facts.
So, all right, we got us a nice simple show. You know what I was thinking of when the intro was playing? I was like, yo, I never did a one-on-one show with you, Caprice, because we ain't never jumped on and did it. Is it disrespectful before?
And nope, you just been leaving me to the wayside.
Nah, that ain't what that was. I brought a topic to you before, and then you
No,
had got
that's not
emotional about the topic, so we couldn't do it.
what it was.
I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I got emotional about this topic.
It was a topic that you was real passionate about. And I can't remember what it was. But I remember you even said it. You was like, nope, I can't do this because it was too close to home or something like that. Is it disrespectful? I have to think about it. I have to tell you later. But I was like, I had one. I remember bringing it to you. But hey, this one right here is gonna be more so suited because I think the majority of our gang ain't got kids anyway. So this one right here is gonna be perfectly one aligned. This is Am I Parenting Correctly? So we have children. So it's one of them things that we can address and we can fit this thing right on in. So we're gonna go ahead and just get this thing started. We ain't even gonna waste too much time. The first question that I had lined up was, is a non-nuclear family a disadvantage for children? Is a non-nuclear family a disadvantage for children? What you think about that?
Is this a trick question?
No. And it's not a trick question because there are people who say all the time that there are women who say we don't need the man. They said to have children, but they don't say they have to have men to raise children because a lot of women are raising the children up on their own anyway. So the concept of the nuclear family don't actually exist for a lot of people. So it's not a trick question. It's a real question.
Okay, you said is it an advantage or
Is a non-nuclear family a disadvantage?
I don't know. It's not a disadvantage.
Non-nuclear.
I don't think in totality is a disadvantage, but I think sometimes it can be depending on like because some people consider a nuclear family just a man and a woman being in the household. And that's not saying if that man and woman are pouring into their children the way that the children would need. And then because sometimes a nuclear family could be not good for the children, and sometimes one parent household children come good out of that. But I think overall, if we talk in statistics and numbers, I don't think it's a disadvantage at all.
But I don't know. I'm gonna disagree with that a little bit. I get what you're saying when you're talking about people having to pour into and all these things of that nature. But if we actually look at, and I really don't like taking the statistical route because we don't really be knowing where these numbers are coming from. And a lot of times people be addressing that we don't know the pool in which they dive in when they bring these numbers and things of that nature. So it's kind of skeptical when people like to throw statistics, and people like to throw statistics now just as talking points to try to shut people up because they know a lot of niggas don't do no research. So it's kind of tricky, but using them, I done said this and then I'm still use them anyway. Using them, I mean, if you're looking at it, numbers do show that there is a disadvantage there when you don't have it. And I think a nuclear family is necessary though, because I think it does take multiple people pouring into it.
Agree with me, because that's what I said.
No. But you said that you don't think it's necessarily a disadvantage. I'm saying that I think it is. It's a great advantage by having a nuclear family.
Right. The question was, is having a nuclear family a disadvantage? And I'm saying no, it's an advantage.
I said non-nuclear is what I said. Is a non-nuclear family.
Okay. I thought you said nuclear. I thought you said nuclear.
I said non-nuclear.
You should have stopped me because you're not. No.
I mean, I thought you heard it.
Like,
Even when you said it, I even repeated it. I was like, a non-nuclear family. That's why even when you said it, I was like, that sounds kind of different. I was like, oh, gee, okay.
now I wouldn't have said nothing like that. Yeah, I
But
was
even with your explanation, though, you kind of was still leaning more towards it, though, because you were saying how it could be and this and this and this and this and that. So you kind of wasn't.
No, I'm saying like I wouldn't necessarily say or nuclear family is like looking into houses individually just because it's a mother and a father there, that it's a great thing for the children, because depending on what those parents are doing and how they are guiding their children, it may not be advantage for those children in a nuclear family or whatever. But I said overall, I think yes, it is a advantage to have a nuclear family.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're answering it to, and your answer is kind of sheltering it more towards the concept of a possibility realm when having multiple people there to pour into. That's why they always say too, it takes a village to raise a child. Mm-hmm. Having those set people there to pour into it is very, very critical. But if we look at the numbers, most people, especially in the Black community, are typically raised by single mothers. And when we start getting into the realms of leadership and the same very thing that a lot of women and men tend to complain about how like men are way more feminine, all this other stuff like that. Just like on the Men Are Men show, I said this on the Man show, that men are learning their version of being men from their mothers. See, I was the only one who addressed that. But they are learning their version of it from it. And we're acting like that because the man ain't there, women aren't playing a part in why these men are soft. So the same men that women complain about, they're contributing a factor to that, though. Like, you're playing a part in why these guys are soft too now. It ain't simply just that, because even if the man is not there, right? And I always say this. Yes, a man not being there is a downfall. But if you are there, you now have to take on the responsibility that they need as far as mentorship now. It can't be a circumstance of just because the father's not there, the hell with the kids. Or some people do say that. So if you got a mentality when people say it's all about my children, then what are you doing as far as setting up mentorship? Because that would be your job. That would be then you being failing as parenting. You need to make sure they have it, because they have to have those both sides. Otherwise, you're on the side of you don't need them. Mm-hmm. So I think that people do owe that to it. So I think it's great advantages. And I agree with what you're saying too, that there are people who have both parents in their household, and if you don't have a father who's worth nothing, or he's so standoffish or to himself that he's not making a contribution to the child at all. I understand that concept. Yes, I would agree. But that's the same concept with most of the mothers. A lot of these single parent mothers, it's like the child raising themselves anyway, because the mother ain't pouring into them neither. So you get the same attribute, that just because the child there with the mother, because I know how, and I'm only saying this because I know how women make a big deal about image, that they think that just because that they are around, that means they're doing good parenting. No, they there all the time and still ain't doing worth the fuck for the kids. So I think that it's definitely a non-nuclear family is definitely a disadvantage, but I think you do need to make sure you have, of course, the right people pouring into you and diving into certain things to be what needs to be. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
So since I kind of alluded to it a little bit then, but this is my next question. What all do we pass down to our children as far as parents? Throw some things out there. What are we typically passing down to these kids?
Our habits, our forms of how we communicate, our attitudes, our how we interact with other people. That's all I can think of right now.
So to be specific, right? When you say how we interact with people, that goes as far as friendships and friendships and couples.
Relationship. I think the most important one, because friendships. I mean, if you have friends that come over a lot, but the primary relationship that's gonna play a role in that child's life is the relationship between the mother and the father, or the mother and the stepmother, or the father and the stepmother. I mean, I said the mother and the stepmother. I'm talking lesbians over here. I mean, the mother and the stepfather, or the father and the stepmother. And I think that actually plays a big role in how we grew up to interact with the other sex as far as like relationships.
So what do you mean by like as far as the step parents? Like what do you mean by that?
Now, because I'm not saying like because some people actually have step parents, like, so that's what I'm saying. I would have said just the between the man and the woman, but I wanted to be specific on like uh what those men and women are. It could be the mother, the actual biological mother and the father, or it could be
So what is the impact on behalf of the children though?
just how they interact, how they communicate with each other, how they show each other love and respect, how they talk to each other. I said communicate already, but yeah, that.
So yeah, I'm gonna help you out a little bit with that. Yeah, I think this whole concept of nuclear family, which meaning that your parents typically are together, plays a part in the way that the child is when it comes to their concept of dating, right?
Yeah.
So, in a lot of cases, in a lot of situations, where if that young man is growing up with his mother, you also go into this concept of him not knowing really how a man is supposed to treat a woman, because who are you seeing it being done by?
Right.
Right? You're not seeing your mother being, you might not like the wording, being handled correctly by a man. You won't see it. You don't know what it looks like because you need to see your mom in that situation.
You said
And
I might not like that wording.
I said people might not like the
Oh.
wording of seeing, because I use the word handle. You don't know what it looks like, and it don't have to even be your actual biological father. It's actually seeing your mother within the relationship, not seeing that there. You know what I'm saying? And I think even on behalf of a daughter, like she don't know what it's like to see the exact same thing, so she don't even know how to have certain levels of respect. And even when people talk about order, because I always say the biggest problem I see with the whole independent mentality is that you're literally teaching a person not to have respect for that structure anyway. So any woman who takes pride in independency literally is a woman who's championing against nuclear family. Because family is not about independency, it's about codependency. So any woman who takes pride in independency, you're literally going against the nuclear family.
Would you assume that any woman that's like what they call it hyper independence, or just take that independent route, would you be able to assume that they either have no father or their father was just non-existent anyway?
Yeah, I would think somewhere down the line that plays a part, because typically when people tend to not have a value for something, they typically already went without it anyway, right? So I always say this, like if you come up in a family that's like super family oriented, then a lot of the things you do in life, like habits and stuff like that, is centered around family, because family's always been that core of everything you're doing. The reason why people could not care and not have to involve family and not do this stuff right here coming up is because it wasn't a thing amongst you anyway. Like it's like holidays, right? Like if you didn't come up in a family who contributed to holidays, why would you all of a sudden just start participating in holidays? None of it would matter to you if that's not what you're doing anyway. You get what I'm saying? Or you get the other side of
have them rare cases where they wanted to do it and they created their own family so they could be able to do the stuff that they didn't get to do. But I think those mostly like,
or you have the situation where there was trauma behind it, where something bad happened around these occasions, so then now they just simply steered away from certain things. But I think that what people traditionally come across and what their upbringing plays a part in is what they typically gravitate to it. So when there's not a father in home, that's why when people talk about like how Mother's Day is addressed versus the way Father's Day is addressed, right? Father's Day is not as important to a lot of people because the celebration of fathers has not been pushed like that. So why would people go into it like that? But people always had their mothers around, and mothers always make it about them. That's why it's always pushed for mothers to say, hey, you can celebrate Mother's Day, but then fathers don't really push to have to make it about them. So even when fathers see it, they don't be like, oh, you ain't gonna do nothing for me for Father's Day. You ain't gonna say nothing. They'll just brush it under the rug. Because because it's like a we know the work of men, but then people push forward like it doesn't matter. And
Mm.
when people push forward like it doesn't matter, then it creates that same, that same realm of you don't matter. And I don't want to go off subject, but going in relationships in general, men look for stuff like that. Men look for women to actually value them. So when a man see that you're not valued in a certain degree and you're not valued a certain way, they typically then will stray away from that woman because there is a lot of that going on. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't really tell people how to feel, but men do look for loyalty and what they can trust. So without it, especially if you see your mama showing that, like before we jumped on, we was having a similar conversation. Like it's certain stuff I've seen a lot more, but instead of taking me away from it, it makes me value the concept of bonding more because
Right.
because it's all about what you do with it. Like everything that happens could take you either a complete negative or a complete positive. Me, it
Mm-hmm.
drives me more into a complete positive where I need that or I want that genuine connection
I
from
agree with that.
somebody going into it. So yeah, look at somebody randomly pop up. What's up,
Oh,
Chef Joe?
hairs in that beard.
Huh?
You said what? You said look at all them gray hairs.
Gray hairs in your beard.
And nigga getting
Uh,
old.
getting wiser.
Okay, that's true. The color of it.
Huh?
But yeah, I agree with that too because all the stuff that as me growing up that I seen that I was just like I didn't. I mean, some of my siblings went a negative route with it. I mostly went a positive route with it. I said I'm not going. It's either the stuff that I'm not going to do and the things that I am going to do and the things that I am going to value because of some of the stuff I seen in my childhood.
So Chef Joe, we was right now we're talking about am I parenting correctly? So we were addressing the question of what are the things that parents pass down to their children, and that's the center of really what we're talking about. So right now we were talking about the way that they go into relationships, the way that people treat relationships when you don't see your father with a woman or your mom with a father and things of that nature, how that does affect the way you approach relationships. So we was just talking about that, man. What you think about this? What are some things that come to your mind when you think about stuff like this of why, what do we pass down?
I mean, I agree. Like, our father. I never seen him in a good, really committed relationship because all his relationship either was divorced or is divorced. Like him and my mother got married but got annulment. Our sister. They got divorced and so on. So I never seen him in a stable relationship, and that kind of bothered me because I was talking to some friends earlier today. Like I've been single for 14 years, and I'm scared to get back out there because I don't know how to love properly, how to
Mm,
love a woman because I've never seen it.
yes.
Yeah, one of the things too that I always say, we're gonna be vulnerable tonight. We can be vulnerable. Y'all want to be vulnerable?
Yeah, I'm vulnerable.
Wait,
This
what
ain't vulnerable.
kind of vulnerable?
We can just be vulnerable. We talking.
You
We
just
giving it a,
you get ahead and lead. I'll follow.
so yeah. And one of the things I always say that I wish, like I always say this, I think we need shame in society. I think we need to crucify and penalize people when they go against destruction. Like one of the things that I like that I have seen in with some people in my family and what I've seen among certain other people's family is the way that they don't like say if you got pregnant and you weren't married, people would not attend your baby shower because it's out of order because they don't
Mm,
believe in the kids being born out of wedlock. So one thing they don't do is, oh, you ain't got no husband. Oh, we're not coming to no baby shower. Why? Because you ain't no you not doing this right anyway. So I will not be a part of it. I love that concept, right? So one of the things that I wish when it came to like my family was I wish it was more because on my family, especially on my mama's side, is way more women than it is men. And I wish that they would downput the idea of having children out of that order, right? Because Now, when you have situations of like when someone get pregnant, it's like everybody say this thing. Well, it don't matter just as long as you take care of them. Just as long as you take care of them. No matter how many babies you have, how many baby mamas or how many kids you have, it's the thing of as long as you take care of them. I
Okay.
also don't like the downside of it that even with some of the men, like I don't like blaming things and talk about it being a curse because I think at a certain point you have to have a certain level of understanding. And I wish I came into this concept a lot more earlier to have the understanding too. Because if I'm looking at my grandfather, and I ain't gonna do that, but if I'm looking at my grandfather, he had multiple kids, multiple, baby mothers, even though he was married to my grandmother for quite some time. And a lot of those, and we learned about a lot of them kids when my granddaddy brother died. When I listen, if I look at my father has several kids, he has randoms. They very different nationalities and all these kind of things like that. So when certain conversations come up and it'd be like, oh, you got a girl pregnant, they make more of a take a liking of it. It's like, hey, well, I mean, hey, boy, I got 7, boy. You only a couple more out the way, boy. You be fit right in with the numbers. And one of the things that I don't like about that, because I end up walking that path. Now, I'm not saying that this was something that was passed down, but not having people address it and shaming the concept kind of doesn't give a person a level of restriction to stay away from certain things neither. So you walk into the concept of, it don't matter, man. And then you start saying the same shit you always said. Man, hey, all right, I had this baby. Man, as long as I just take care of the kids, it's all good. And then next thing you know, it's another girl pregnant. Man, as long as I take care of this kid, man, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Because I got a situation like that. I have 3 baby mamas and I have 5 children. So it's one of them things like I wish that enforcement of the value was like, no, bro, this right here is not the way. You shouldn't do like that and enforce it so it have made you double take on certain behaviors and make you step up, walk in the avenues of protection and things of that nature. And that was always something that I always said, like for myself, like I really wish we were shaming this a lot more. Because when everybody okay and everything, you kind of drift towards it. And that's not making an excuse now, because you as an adult, you got to walk away, however you're going to do it. But we can't act like the way you heard and the way you came up don't play a part in it. It does play a part in it. It's not the reason for your decision as an adult, but it does play a way in part because it's a mentality and a way of thinking. So that's something I always say, that I wish that it was different, because we're talking about parenting. And the reason why my first question was about the non-nuclear family being a disadvantage is because I see the disadvantages. I see the disadvantages of wanting to be here for one child who's all the way over here in another state, wanting to be here for certain, like, for this child, and they want to be here and they're 3 hours away on this side. Like, it is a disadvantage, and it is a lot of things you miss. And the whole FaceTime dad thing is not as good, because you want to be able to pour into your children the best that you can. So that's just one of them things, man, that I always, walked into and I always challenged, man. So yeah, that's for that. Y'all got anything else on the pass down?
I think
What about
I think trauma too.
Talk to us about the trauma.
I mean, just never seen properly love. Like how can you do that? Or emotional or physical trauma. Like if you see somebody like your mama, boyfriend abusing them, like you could go in thinking like all men are the same, like, and that can play a factor, not wanting to be in a relationship or scared to be in there because you think all men the same.
It's either the daughter, if that woman has a daughter, the daughter end up being with a man that put their hands on her, and she think that's kind of like love, or be more susceptible to it. And then it's either the son either growing up to actually do the same thing to another woman, or just, well, that's most likely it. I really don't. Y'all could tell me how does that affect a man growing up after seeing his mother go through something like that?
It is one of them things. Like I said earlier, it can either drive you as a complete negative, it can drive you as a complete positive, right? It could be a situation where that man can look at that and say, I don't want to be exactly like that, which I call it learning in reverse. Because I always say it's a lot of gangster stuff that I stayed away from only because I had certain cousins who did certain stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm not doing that. These niggas is stupid. So you get the same concept. You can either like drive completely away from certain stuff, or it could be that y'all might. Well, I'm gonna say y'all might be a little too young, but there was a commercial some years back when we was younger, and it was about something they was pushing, and then they kept asking the little boy. They was like, "Where did you learn this from?" And he looked at his dad. He said, "Well, I learned it from watching you." It could be one of them situations that now that child is abusive because he's watched his father abusive or men be abusive. Not even been his dad. It could have been the men that his mama was choosing to be abusive. So it could have been that situation where he become an abuser himself. Because typically, if it's a full case of being abused, it's not only the mother being abused. Usually, the child's getting abused too.
Correct.
It's not just the mama. It's usually everybody in the house usually takes that wrath. So some people become it. Some people be like, yo, I don't like it. I hate it. Because I think that's all people do in general anyway. All people, and this is why I always say when it comes to parenting, I hate when people act like there's a blueprint. Because parenting is a learning experience, dog, for the children and for the adults. And when people act like they got that shit down pat, that shit is annoying. Because it's a lot of dog, you just learn on the fly. And all we ever do is all we do as a person when you become a parent, you just take a look at your life and you say, well, these are the list of things I didn't like seeing as a child coming up. I'm either gonna imitate it or I'm gonna go completely against it and do the same thing with your dislikes. I'm either imitate it or be completely away from it. And that's all that we do. That's all we can do because the only life you know is what you have seen coming up.
Correct.
Whether it was you personally or people who were close to you. That's all you ever see it with.
I don't even think most people that have kids care enough to even do that retrospect, looking at what they did and didn't like and how they gonna incorporate that into their parenting with their children. People just out here having kids and just like whatever. How you grow up is how you grow up. Just make sure you got a roof over your head, some food in your stomach. And some people barely could even do that. So
what do y'all think about that, though? Do y'all think people today really give a fuck about these kids that they have?
No. People are actually having kids because they're either in love with that person at that time and they want to duplicate that, or they get like that whole baby fever thing where they just want to dress up the baby and go through the cute stages with the baby. That's what I was telling you about that video. They say people are not capable of loving their kids beyond the baby stage, because once like that kid come into their own person and have autonomy over themselves, you want to change them and you want to tell them how to be and how to talk and how to, what ideas, what they should do or what activities or what career they should do. It's not about them. It's all about you.
To add to your point, I think they're doing it because of the check too. Food stamps, government assistance, and all that. Because some women don't like to work; they want to let the government provide for them. So I think that's another reason too. They be having all these damn babies for the government.
I agree with everything.
Which is like a double-edged sword, because you're gonna get the benefits, but the benefits is only for you at a certain income level. So you're going to have to stay at this low income, which is very, very low income level to receive these benefits. And you're going to still be struggling at the same time because it's never going to be enough. Okay. So you're still going to be struggling even with these assistant programs, because if you get a job, they're going to cut you off. And if they cut you off, that time period of you being cut off and trying to increase your income, you might lose your apartment or can't afford it or can't afford food and all that. So it's like what they call it, a snowball effect or whatever they call it.
So I agree with everything both of y'all saying, but I don't think none of what y'all said is the actual majority of what's going on. I think because there is no Planned Parenthood in the black community, and even a lot of people, even white people too, that most people is like I always say, most people is that we have oop babies. You just have people who are just irresponsible with sex. I don't think most people are even planning out what y'all are saying. Like, now don't get me wrong, it happens, but that ain't even most people. Most people just irresponsible. They just fucking and I'm pregnant. What we're gonna do? We're gonna have it. This is what we're gonna do, and then it goes from there. So I agree with y'all, but I think the majority of people, it's just irresponsibility of sex. Niggas ain't planning out these things. Most of these people, I think most of these people fall into the realms of it, but initially going into it, no. They are just irresponsible.
And speaking of that, that's another thing that parents pass on to their children is the taboo of sex. Like, we know these kids, we know you're gonna. I don't understand why parents act like their kids not gonna engage in this. Like when you was a kid and you engaged in it, at least give them the talk and tell them how to protect themselves and give them the real. And I don't think it's real conversations about parenting. People like to make it sound like your child is a blessing and being a parent is so beautiful and all this and that. When it's not. No, it's not. I mean, the beautiful part is just seeing a child grow into itself and have its own ideas and see what they grow into. But man, it's a lot of struggle with being a parent, and that's not just being a single parent. That could be in a nuclear family as well. Like it's a lot, especially to raise a child, because sometimes you feel like you're not doing enough, or sometimes your kids can't have what the other kids can, or especially having your kids around other ethnic groups and they asking you questions about certain stuff, and it's just like it's a job for real. And if these conversations were really had, people wouldn't glorify being parents and thinking like, oh, it wouldn't be nothing if I get pregnant or if I get a woman pregnant and have a baby, like, because I seen my mama do it or my father.
So, yeah, I think that. So what you were saying about speaking to kids about certain and it ain't even really just the concept of sex, but with any concept, I think there has to be an establishment of value, and I think people got to understand and start at the base of what means everything to people, right? Most people on this planet literally do what they value. I know a lot of times we always make it seem like it's about knowledge. It's about knowledge because we got that cliche saying that people say, if you knew better, you'll do better. That's not true. Most of the stuff that people do, they do know better. The thing is, they don't give a fuck. And a lot of times I always tell, even when grown people are talking, we keep making it seem like when people are in disagreements and things of that nature, it's because they don't understand. We keep confusing understanding with caring. Right. A lot of people understand. I understand what you're talking about, but I think it's stupid as fuck. I don't give a fuck. And that's the key that people have to really get. And that was kind of what I was alluding to at the point when I kept saying that there should have been a shame factor. They should have been spoken to. There should have been an established value of why this is not this is something that is enforced behind it, of why we view things a certain way. We view things this way because this is this and this is the goal and this is the projection of what it is. There needs to be something established, because just having a conversation really don't mean nothing if you don't give people sometimes goals to push forward to. That's why these ideal conversations carry so much weight amongst people, because that's what they're doing. They're giving people the idea, but they're not giving them the work, the methodology to go with it. They're just giving people the ideal, and the ideal sells a lot more. So even if we are people who understand methodology, we still got to understand how there needs to be a goal in place too. And without understanding the goal, it's like you're dooming them to fail, because that's what leadership in itself. I got to have a direction. Without a direction, where we going? You know what I'm saying? So whether you're a single parent or in a nuclear family, there still has to be some level of an establishment of that. There has to be an establishment of value. This is what I represent. This is what I hold. So when you put it on them, you push for them to really just carry on what it is that you set forward. That's really all that is. And I don't think we have that. And I think right now, the only thing people really value right now is themselves. So to answer the question, I don't think people care about their kids. But I see it all the time, though. They don't really give a fuck about these kids. and they're not gonna start neither.
I don't think
They, first of all, they never wanted them.
Right, and I don't think parents should be sheltering like their children too much of like, you know how some people try to hide that they struggling or
Mm-hmm.
well, I think your child should see that, especially as a single parent. I need you to see what this is like being a single parent so you don't repeat this. I'm not hiding nothing from you. I'm gonna let you know if you asking for stuff, I don't have the money to get that. Why I don't have the money to get that? Because I have to work a job that go with your school schedule and go around you, so I can't make this certain amount of money, and I'm only taking care of you by myself.
So what you saying? What you just said actually goes into my next question. Of is overprotectiveness a form of neglect? Now,
Yeah.
normally I got a saying that I always say, which is how protected is too protected and how neglected is too neglected. So I found a way to craft the question without me having to do so much repeating of it. So I'm approaching it this way: is overprotectiveness a form of neglect?
Yes.
Caprice, you
Yes.
doing all that yawning, nigga?
Oh, my bad. Yes, it is.
So explain it.
I mean, I just explained a little bit just now
Yeah,
in
you
my
did.
previous answer, and what I could put on top of it is it's just like you're not giving your child the opportunity to like actually learn lessons and figure shit out on their own because you're not gonna be here once they adults. I mean, let God forbid, but you have to give them the autonomy to handle things on their own. Why even say like you're a good parent and all this and that if you don't trust your parenting? Why be overprotective if you don't trust the guidance that you give it to your child to be able to make the right decisions
Because
or
a
to
lot of people don't
know?
believe in what they're actually teaching. They're trying to teach other people's principles that they really don't believe in it. And that goes back to what I said about value, how you need to have a value of that. So then when you teach it, you're teaching it from a core place, not from the perspective and the mentality of other people.
Right. Right. Like whenever my daughters ask me something, I'm very honest with them. Very. Cause I don't believe in sheltering them too much because when they go out in that world, I can't be there to protect them all the time. And I'm not gonna be there to protect them all the time. They have to learn things on their own. And I have these conversations with other parents that a lot of people look at me crazy when I tell them I'm already talking to my daughters about periods. And they too young. No, they not. They need to be prepared for this and not feel shamed about it when it happened. And understand this is a part of life. This is what a woman has to go through. So my kids are ready, like educated on certain stuff or how to do certain stuff when it happens or whatever. Or even when I'm going through something, they now whenever I have an attitude or something, they ask me, in my period, like, okay, just because I told you the symptoms of being on your period, you ain't gonna be doing those. As soon as I be like, my stomach hurt, here go my daughter. Oh, you cramping? All right.
I mean, I think that's what.
Yeah, I love to have the feedback that they understand it. Like it's getting through to them. I'm doing my job correctly.
I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing though when you get kids that go to utilize. Because one of the things I always, especially when I'm talking to my sons, because I'm one of them people who real big on the information in which that you bring home. So I tell my sons all the time that you should question all lines of information, and I always say at the end, especially if it comes from me. And some people were like, damn. They were like, why you say that? Especially if it comes from you. They was like, cause don't you move pretty sound? I said, yes, but that's what I want them to address. That I don't care how close that person is to you. You need to value the information in which that came from. And I use the example of Disney. I always say, you saw how Simba went out to that elephant graveyard? Who told him? Who gave him the advice? Who told him to go? Uncle
His
Scar.
uncle?
Uncle Scar
Somebody
didn't
he
have
trusted?
teaching for him. Uncle Scar wanted him to get killed. So just because it's family and they might have good intentions from you, don't mean that still might be the way to go. Sometimes you still need to have a level of due diligence, and you cannot rely on your parents for everything. Because what I have learned from growing up, a lot of these older people, I'm sorry to say this, and I've been in arguments with this, a lot of these old people don't know shit.
They don't.
They don't know a motherfucking thing.
Nah.
They just do a
About
whole
the
bunch of cliche
about today's
talk.
generation.
Yep. They just do a
Yeah.
whole bunch of cliche talk.
No, just about like parenting, period. They don't know nothing. Like, I mean, the only thing that I could go back and get like some information on, like from them, is just like remedies of like how to take care of this type of sickness, or what I should do about this skin thing, because a lot of stuff that they was using back in the days was like more natural stuff.
Most of them don't know none of that. That's only if you got certain family members who was embedded in stuff like that. Most of these older people love their doctors, and they only know what their doctors say because they got their doctors like the next closest thing to Jesus. These older people love their doctors.
Maybe I'm just speaking from my point of view, because my father's side is Belize and my mother's side is Italian, but my mother grew up around a bunch of Caribbeans and Jamaicans and stuff. So
yes. So you talking because you talking more specifically to people who come from them cultures who dive into that like that. Because on my father's side, my grandmother was like that. You know what I'm saying? But from talking from the majority of people, that's not what most people are going to get there. You got to come from elements who believe into, you know what I'm saying, using these different things and mixing these things, because they used to call them witch doctors.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You got to come from elements that push that. That ain't most people. Most people don't know shit.
Yeah.
Josh, my bad. What was to the question? Is overprotectiveness a form of neglect?
I mean, I can't really speak on this, but I don't have kids. But in my opinion, yes, because you're not letting them learn a lesson. You got to let them fly. Just like how the mother baby bird puts their kids out, the birdies out the nest, and you got to learn how to fly. You can't learn unless you make the mistake. So you got to learn from your mistake. Yeah, if you overprotecting them, they'll never fucking learn.
They would never value what you're saying until they actually go through it and then understand exactly what you were saying to them. Because all this you telling me, oh, just don't do this and just don't do that. Why? And even if you tell me why, I'm a
lot of people still gonna do it anyway.
I need to know this on my own.
Yeah, I mean, like I had to learn lessons hard way. Be like, don't do that. No, I'm gonna try it then. And I told your dumb ass not to do it. Hey man, I had to learn myself. Shit, I mean, it is what it is. That's why when I try to tell some people, are like, all right, you got to learn it for yourself. Fuck it, I done been through it. Okay.
It's just like my bad, Josh. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm done.
It's just like the concept that I always say. Like we always have, like we done had several conversations when it come around the concept of control. And I always tell people that control is necessary for people who don't know how to handle themselves adequately in the things that they need to get done, right? I always say, no, you only need to be controlled if you don't know what to do. Control is there for those who don't seem to know what they're doing. So I always say this too, because I always say this. I don't like the concept of control, but I treat the same concept even when it comes to my kids. See, I understand and I teach from the realm of choices, right? So this is what will happen. Daddy, we want to stay up at 12 o'clock at night, even though you got to go to school. Okay, that's cool. You're getting up at 6 a.m. You're getting up at 6 a.m. Now, most kids, they're going to want to try it for the first time. So you can stay up to 12. Then you can go ahead and get up at 6. If we have any problems with me getting you up at 6, now you're no longer able to make this choice on your own now. Because you knew the terms going into it. You're getting up at this time. I don't care how long you stay up. You just better make sure you're ready to go when it's time to go. So the moment that it's time to go, if we got to run into any crossroad, we got to bump heads, now I'm going to take the privilege away from you, and now you're going to be controlled now because you have now proven why. It's the same thing with people with parents with pets. I don't believe nobody should give their child a pet if their child cannot prove that they can actually take care of the pet. That's stupid. I'm talking about that's changing, that's cleaning up behind them, everything. I don't care. We talking from a dog all the way to Caprice. What little rat thing you got?
Nah, don't bring my stuff in this.
No, I'm just talking about the pet. I ain't talking about you. Yeah, even the little rat thing. What you got? We got a hamster?
Guinea pigs.
Yeah, the fat ones. Okay, you just got a fat hamster. So yeah, even people who got stuff like that and rabbits, I think kids should not have none of it if they can't take care of it. Cause you get what I'm saying? Because me personally, I don't like inside pets. I think inside pets are disgusting. First of all, people are disgusting, and inside pets are disgusting too. And pets carry aromas that just are fucking they're fucking horrible.
Mm-hmm.
They're disgusting. So if I even choose to take a placement of compromise, you have to prove that you are worthy enough to actually do this. Otherwise, you will not get it. But it's a choice factor, not a control factor. Only time control comes into it is when you show that you're not capable of doing what is asked of you. You get what I'm saying? So that's the only time I think that comes into it. But overall, when it comes to protectiveness, it's definitely, and just like what y'all was saying, that when you don't allow people to learn their lessons and go through things on their own, it's a disadvantage. And especially when people like sharing information with their kids. And I hate when people be like, I'm not going to share certain things. Dog, you don't know what people can do. You don't know what people can handle until you give it to them. And really, most of the time when people are holding information back from their kids, they're trying to protect themselves, not the child.
Mm-hmm. They want to look at this child as so innocent. And it's like, that's why...
Okay. So when y'all hear the statement, right? What y'all thoughts on this statement? When y'all hear the statement, I did the best I could. Y'all think that's some bullshit, or is it a valid statement? You know, parents say this a lot. I did the best I could for you and your brothers and sisters and all that. What y'all think about that? The statement. I did the best I could. Is this some BS?
The statement or the statement behind it?
The statement or the people behind it?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, if my kids get older and they still dissatisfied with something, when I know I'm going to exhaust all my options to make sure I guide them correctly, and I'd be like, well, I did the best that I could, then it would be valid for me. But I think a lot of the old parents from past generations, the way that they used it, it was some bullshit. It was definitely some bullshit, because they was like, you ain't do the best that you could, because you was still out in them clubs, leaving us in the house. You was still doing what you wanted to do for you, while we over here at the wayside, like, nah, you ain't do the best that you could. You did what you wanted to do.
What you think, Josh?
I mean, Caprice took the words out of my mouth before I could. I mean, and I think it depends on how many kids too, because if you have like 9 or 10 kids, my nigga, like, first of all, you shouldn't have that many. But I mean, if you tried the best you could, I mean, you got 10 mouths to feed plus yours, plus your husband. I mean, back then it was a struggle. Now it's a struggle, but I know back then that shit was hell. So I guess it depends on the situationship, but yeah.
But a lot of the conversation when people talk about like the back then, a lot of the times the things that people did as far as career wise, having a lot of kids actually was a contribution to the way that people were living, right? So when you're talking about people living off the land, having more hands make the job easier for y'all, because you got more people who can pitch in on the farming. You got more women who can help cook and things like that. And stuff like that.
That's all back then.
That is back then, because if you look at the generation of, because that generation is only my great grandmama now.
Well, I'm talking about
my great grandmama got 13 kids. That's not far ago. Y'all acting like that's like ancient time. Back then,
you talking about y'all? Nigga, I ain't say shit.
No. I'm saying that because she was saying back then, like I'm speaking to a time that's too far. Back then is only 2 generations ago. A lot of them people still alive. They've been having a lot of them kids. People were just far. You gotta realize my grandma damn near 100. She can remember slavery.
We talking about not grandma Grace. Oh, you talking about, okay.
So what are we talking about? That ain't no far time.
Well, yeah, it's not that far. But I was also because of like, y'all know I'm younger than y'all, so my era is,
man, nigga, you only like
different.
4 years.
So I'm talking about
5 years.
I'm gonna try to play that younger shit.
Y'all real old, and I'm like, y'all up age, and I'm like right here in age. So.
But yeah, like I said, that's not that big of a gap as far as in time, right? And a lot of people was having them families because it was more that went into it as far as providing. Because that's why a lot of them people, when you hear they tell about them stories, of people always telling about how they had to do this, do this, do that, do this. A lot of them people always saying, "Well, I was working since then." Yes, because everybody got put to work.
Yeah.
Yes, of course you've been working since you was fucking 12. Everybody got put to work. It was no sitting around. It was no you get to play the video games and you get to do. No, they put everybody to work. But that's why I don't like using those type of arguments, because that's not the time that we live in, to go to Caprice point. But when we speak to that era, we got to address what was actually going on within that era too. Otherwise, you're doing a disservice to the example.
Was of why they was having a lot of kids, not speaking towards of the statement of I did the best that I could.
No. I didn't get to address the question yet. I was just addressing what was said, because about when Josh was making his point, I was just adding to that point in which he was making. I didn't get to answer the question, but Josh just went. It's my turn. I will approach this a little bit differently. I do agree with you guys, but I don't think the phrase is completely bullshit, because when I sit and I talk to a lot of older people, we give this association because of their age that they're knowledgeable of a lot. They have like a lot of knowledge or experience when it comes to certain stuff, and we gotta face it. A lot of your granddaddies and grandmamas, they stupid. They dumb as hell. They ain't had no shit.
They ain't know how to read and none of that.
It was the best they could, because we're having like a hindsight conversation, because we're talking about all the things we got access to and how we can tap into this and we can do this and we can do all this other stuff like that. We can do that right there. So we're addressing it from a mentality of what we know now and how we can put it forward when it comes to children. But a lot of them didn't have it to really put forward. Yeah. So I think in a lot of cases, don't get me wrong, there are cases where it's some bullshit, where it's people who did know. They did have the knowledge, and they were just too lazy to do what was necessary. I agree with y'all.
Or it was like they didn't have the knowledge at first, but somewhere along the rail of that third child, you knew.
Well, but it depends on what we're talking about.
And I'm speaking towards like the parents that was actually parents to, our generations, the kids that was born in the 90s or late 80s or whatever.
Okay. Now, yes. I would say that. Okay, I would agree with you with that.
Oh no, they knew better. They just wanted to do what they wanted to fucking do.
I would agree with that.
And if I'm being very honest, like even my mother at first when she was getting pregnant and stuff, because my mother got 5 kids. When she was getting pregnant and stuff, she didn't know about like abortions and all of that. But by the third one, she did. So I don't understand why you had 2 more after that. But
I agree with that. If we're talking about the one right above us, I totally agree with that. A lot of them just did what they wanted to do. But I think my father was like that too.
Yeah, so
it's like somebody who just did what he wanted to do.
So it's like that statement coming from them is not valid.
That's why I set it up the way that I set it up. I think most, like when we talking about certain time frames, yes. But I think we talking about like our parents' generation, nah. I agree with that. I think a lot of them did. They knew. They just chose to do what the fuck they wanted to do. I think we move the exact same way now, though. We just do what we want to do too. But I always say this too: the reason people have kids and the reason people don't have kids are all selfish reasons. Mm-hmm. So it's like when people try to make it seem like there's a wrong, it's like, and that's also why a lot of people don't like when I say this. But I always be like, because I understand the mentality, and especially when I talk to men. And when I hear men have the conversations of like, because I always say this, I don't understand when people say where they want to be and where they don't want to be are a part of, why other people try to force them into those roles, right? So
Thank you, Lord.
That's why when I see people be like, a guy have kids, he don't want to be a part of it, but he never wanted to be a part of parenting anyway. So why would you want to make him be a parent? He just wanted to be in your drawers. So when parents go away and people disagree, that's why I was like, no, I play a part, but I understand the guys, if they go away, it makes sense. I don't understand why you're trying to make people do a role that they actually didn't want to be in the role. Somebody choosing to sleep with you don't mean they want to be a parent, though. And it's like you're doing a disservice to your children by even trying to make them do that, because they never said they wanted to be a parent. And even even if they said they want to be a parent, a lot of them cases they've been showing you that they wasn't suitable to be a parent anyway, and you still trying to make them do it. That's a downfall. That's bad parenting too. Like if you know somebody is not suitable, why would you try to make them do something they're not suitable for? That goes back to the whole thing about having a person in the house who ain't ready. That means your contribution don't mean shit. You in the household and what you doing don't mean nothing. You need to be trying to find those who are suitable for the job. I think too many people are doing that. That's why when I see women, it's like, yo, if that man don't want to be a part of the kids, why would you try to make him be a part of the kids? What could he possibly do that's going to benefit them kids if he don't want to be there?
And that goes to what I was telling you earlier. I don't know if you was like really listening to me because you was doing what you was doing.
Yeah, you know that's how you work when I talk to you.
What?
Nah, I said that usually work how when I talk to you. You be talking and I be doing what I be doing. Go ahead, continue though.
No, you should be listening.
You're right. That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
No, that's not what you meant. You be doing what you was doing. You was halfway listening. But
what was your point?
I was saying how my kid's father had like try to like make up this beef in his head, like, oh, you don't like me or whatever. And I was just like, no, I just accept who you are. Like,
no, I was listening to you.
Because the time that I didn't accept who you were, it put me in a bad space where I was not the best parent for my kids. Like I was on edge all the time and oh, you need to do this and you need to do that. Nah, because I have a strong belief in the parent that I am. Like, nigga, I'ma just let you be who you are, and I'm accept that this is not suited for everybody. And you just gonna have to, do what you do over there, and we gonna be good over here. And whenever you decide to change or whatever, we'll consider it. And I said we consider it because we don't know how long that's gonna be. And if I get a husband by that time, he's gonna have to go through my husband to, have access to my children, to our children, especially.
Damn, you said help setting these shit up perfectly. That goes into my next one. Should a step parent have the same disciplinary authority? Should a step parent have the same disciplinary authority? We'll start with you.
Can I answer first? For me, like I don't want to play stepdaddy. Nah, them your kids, baby girl. See, that's hard because if they're real disrespectful, I hate to put my hands on them, but you gonna have to talk to them, and your husband or baby daddy will have to talk to them because they can't keep disrespecting me or whatever. But nah, I would never discipline nobody else's child because that's not my place. That's the woman's place because that's her child, and that's the daddy place. Now, this is my opinion.
Okay. Go ahead, Capri.
I totally disagree.
But actually, though, I've heard that take from a lot of people.
I heard that take from
where like the woman got kids and the man got kids, and it's a lot of turmoil I see around that. And I do understand his concept.
Yeah, I understand.
Go ahead.
There's some women that take that thing too. Like if she the stepmother, she'll let the man handle it. I mean, really, the discipline.
Well, that's the same way men approach it too. Because they wouldn't want somebody doing it today. Like, I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah, but it's kind of different from me. It's like if you are the step parent, you have access to do everything that the regular parent, the biological parent, is able to do. Discipline is not only physical discipline.
Hold on, Caprice. Wait. Clear up that first part too, though. She said when you are the step parent. So if you're the step parent, we're talking about y'all married. I ain't talking about you got a boyfriend.
You got a boyfriend.
You got a girlfriend. If you are the step parent, that means y'all are married now. That's the framework.
Yeah, that's the framework. We married. Ain't no boyfriend gonna be talking about I'm a step parent and I could No. You don't have this kind of access until the marriage comes. But if we're speaking of marriage, no, you are the step parent. You have access to do everything that a regular biological parent has to do. If I can't trust you to do that, why the hell did I marry you? I
Oh,
have
good point. Good point.
like,
Oh,
and then I feel like people that, especially men that shy away from, because discipline is not only physical, it's still like, guidance, or it's a mental thing with kids too, raising them up in a certain way and teaching them how to have respect for certain things. Like, discipline is not only physical. Now, if you just feel like, oh, those are your kids, and it's up to you, nigga, why are you here? Or girl, why are you here? I don't like what you knew what this was coming into. You knew I had kids. Why is like, oh, those your kids? So if that's the case, we could have stayed. We could have stayed just dating.
But to be fair, a lot of times that turmoil gets there because you do have people who take those things. There are women who say you not gonna discipline my children because they got a daddy.
And I'm speaking
there are also men who say you not gonna talk to my children this way because they got a mama. So to be fair, it ain't like your mentality towards it is a good perspective, but there are also people who carry the other perspective too. That's why it's a good question, because a lot of people, and I don't think you have to have children to engage in this type of conversation, because you might get somebody like, say, Josh, who might want, he don't want kids and he ain't gonna have none, but he might end up falling for a woman. He might end up falling for a woman who has kids, and then he walks into that realm. So it's one of them things or conversations that need to be had, because you need to see where her mentality is on that. You know what I'm saying? But if I answer this, first of all,
I already know your ass.
I always say this: if I'm not taking full autonomy, fuck you and them kids, because I'm not playing that silly ass game. If that man has to have a say so about what go in this house, he should have stayed the fuck with you.
Exactly.
You no longer with that man, nigga. You ain't got no motherfucking say so. They're my kids now.
Exactly.
If you wanted to say so and be all my kids and big bad and gorilla, should have stayed there, my nigga. Should have kept your bitch. Should have did what you were supposed to do so you can control your children. Now, Capri said something earlier. I don't have a problem with the idea of, if I see that as a guy who tries to be like involved with his children, right? Like he's really trying to be involved with his children, and he dives into it and he gets into certain things, right? I don't have a problem being like, yo, that's your father. He really want to be involved. Of me being the type of person to talk to that man. Because I ain't trying to take you away from your kids, but I'm not going to let you be you're not going to be sometime with the kids. Like, we're not going to play that game. Like, you're not going to be jumping in and out with them kids' life like that. You know what I'm saying? But if it's a dude, you know what I'm saying, he's pretty respectful and he understand how these marriage circumstances work. Because I'm on a component too. If you want to have that much say so over them kids, take them fucking kids with you too. You they daddy. Go live with you then, big daddy, papa. Take care of your motherfucking kids, because I didn't marry your kids anyway. I married her. So if you want to say them your kids, I don't take them niggas with you. I want to be with her. I didn't sign up for her children. Her children just happen to come with her. But don't get it twisted though, because I think that's the realm where a lot of people get it twisted. That's why I don't think stepdads get a good rep out here. And I think that's kind of a losing game for a lot of stepfathers too. Because after you done pour into these kids all these years and things build up and shit like that, also then when y'all break up, all of that investment that you try to put in there, that shit goes away. Because if she don't want them kids to have access to you, all of that shit goes right away, and ain't nothing you can do about it if they weren't your children. So it could be a bad investment too. But that's why I say I would take over full autonomy of a situation like that.
My mother tried to do that because my pops have been in my life since I was 5, and they decided to go their separate ways when I was like, what, 18 or something. And she tried to be like, oh, that's not your stepfather no more. Girl, that is my pops. I don't know what you're talking about. You're not about to cut off that relationship. What are you talking about? Just because you upset about something? No, that me looking at him as my parent, my father, has nothing to do with you. And him establishing the relationship between us had nothing to do. I mean, it started off with you, but he was been tired of you years ago before it actually ended. And he played a big vital role in my life. I'm not, girl, sit down.
See, you had a different experience. My stepmother really didn't like us. Me and Tori, like she hated us because of what my father did. He cheated on her and left to go overseas without telling her. So like she despised us because of that. So like we never had a good relationship with her. So it's different for everybody.
Yeah, it's a weird setup, man. That's why I say, the whole stepfather thing or stepmother thing, I think it should be championed a lot more, man, because you got people who are taking on responsibilities and taking on things that they don't have to care about. Because I mean it when I say that, like in all actuality, it ain't a person's fault that because they choose to get with you that you had them previous situations. That's why when I hear questions like, and I pose questions like, is it disrespectful for a man that you get with to make the suggestion that the kid should go stay? That's what it was. Caprice, that's what it was.
Oh,
that was the exact question. That was the exact question that I said in the beginning about how we never did it. That was the question. Is it disrespectful for a man to make a suggestion that your kids go live with their father? And you said it was too personal for you.
At that stage of my life,
that's what it was.
That would have been too biased. No.
But I knew it was a question that I had set up for us to do it. Is it disrespectful? And that's exactly what it was.
Make that our show. It could have been something else.
Well, I mean, it was that because I was doing is it disrespectful with the whole gang though?
Like, yeah, I was on that show. Yeah,
everybody. I think me and Izzy did 3 of them.
Yeah, but why that specific topic had to be something you suggested to me?
Because within the gang, who else got kids? Josh ain't got no kids. Izzy ain't got no kids. Matt ain't got no kids. Who else got kids in the gang? Now Jeremy had kids, but me and Jeremy had already did it. Is it disrespectful? And then of course at the time Nate didn't have no kids. And my brother, we did. He was there. We did one, and yeah, everybody didn't have them. You did a couple of the boundary ones. That's when I made it panel based versus a one-on-one. But yeah, I don't have a problem with that concept because to me it's a logical decision. Like, what's wrong with them? Because what's weird when you hear that concept? When women hear that concept, they act like you're losing the kids altogether. And you know what's funny about that? That if you think of it like that, that should tell men a lot about when you have a child with a woman. Because if they look at it as losing altogether, that means they look at it as them taking the kids away from you altogether. Message. Might need to think about that. Because they look how extreme they look at it. Go live with their father. Why the fuck would I do that? You're not going to make me a bad mother and all this other stuff like that. But then when it's the mother getting cussed and the mama taking the child, do you look at it the same as extreme? You should be fighting to make sure your kids stay around your kids too. That's the same concept.
That wouldn't be my response about like I'm a bad parent and all of that. And like I would never see my children again. It will more so be towards how the other person is parenting or like just like past experience of trauma, just dealing with like especially being a girl and being around men is like it's my own trauma. Yes, it's my own trauma. Like, but it's a real thing and it happens a lot. So it's like I have to be very cautious of like with my girl. And I don't know.
Nah, I get it because at the end of the day, it's one of them things that it dives into how you view that person and their way of being actually a parent, right?
Yeah.
Because some women think like that even still, but when some women know that the guy who they had a child with, they was like, that nigga is not good at this. He definitely don't need to have him chilling with him because he's not suited, which logically makes sense. But then you have the cases where it's like, That nigga's actually a really, really good dad.
But
It actually would be no different if the kids were to go with him.
Would they even be bragging like, "Oh yeah, my kid's got a really good father, and he do this and do that," and then you ask them a question like, "Oh well, why they don't stay?"
I've done that, and that's what I was speaking to. Like, I've done that.
How can you be like they're a good father and all this and that, and then like, please, if a nigga was a good father and I could really trust him with my girls, please, we could do split weeks. You have them 7 days, I have them 7 days, so I could, at least have time for me sometimes.
But that's what I was talking about, though, that there are people who actually do that. They brag about them and everything, and then as soon as you pose a question like that, it's like you trigger the hell out of them. It's like, well, dog, you just now did all that positive talking about that man. He's such a good parent, but he can't even get the kids. Like, as far as taking custody for a year or two. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. It's like, yo, you just really, that means you've been just lying the whole time. Or you don't like whatever benefits that come with it on your side, as far as, I guess, claiming them on taxes or whatever the hell you got going on, depending on the caliber of the person. Because a lot of times these things do become about money and people act like they're not. So that's how that worked. Y'all had went about, both of y'all went with the whole step parent having a adjustment. All right, yeah. I got another. Are children really the legacy of the parents? In y'all opinion, are children really the legacy of the parents? What y'all think about this?
No. I think they can be a part of it, but to just ordain them to be like the legacy, no. Because that's just not giving kids the autonomy over their own life and go in the direction that they want to go in. What I see my legacy as might not be what they want to live out in the rest of their life. It might not be something that they could handle or pursue, especially if, like, a lot of people want to pass down businesses and houses and all that. What if I have a child that just don't know this shit or don't care to know it because it's just not in their realm? They don't want to do that. So no, I don't think automatically your children are your legacy. I think they can be a part of it if that's something that they share in common with you and also want to do, but I don't think it's just specifically them.
Okay. Hold on, I see Chef Joe pop back up. I was gonna let him go before I go.
Yeah, it look like you're gonna have to go.
My bad. Something kicked me out.
All right, Chef Joe. His Caprice had just finished up. Are children the legacy of the parents? What you think?
For me, hell no, because I ain't having none. So, but no, I don't think it like Capri said. I don't think it's based on the children. Like I create that legacy, so my name will always be on that. My children just following behind me. Like no, I created that shit. Like why would they get the credit?
Me and Kel was talking about this earlier, and we was talking about that, the whole legacy and generational wealth thing. Yeah, your children are not your fucking legacy. If y'all really want to think about the dynamics of it, it's just like what you just said. You actually are the legacy. Your kids just carry on the representation and the things that you uphold. Because Caprice even said it too, that the only way they can become part of the legacy is by how hard they strive within the footsteps of what you've already created. So say if you created a company, became super big, and then your child ended up taking that company and he took the company to an even bigger level. You were a legacy and then he became one too. But it still follows the one who was the footing of it, the foundation of it. The child itself is not a fucking legacy. Because if we actually deal with what a legacy is when once you found something of honor, that you choose to continue and pull it forward. That would be you. That would be your belief system. That would be your values. That would be what you've created. That would be the legacy. It wouldn't be the child. So I agree in totality with exactly what y'all saying. No, that shit is stupid. It doesn't work like that. That's not
And
how.
most of those people that have tried it, that's why a lot of them wealthy people now, they not leaving their stuff to their kids no more, because some of these kids are just running into the ground, or some of them get it just so, especially houses now. Some of them get it just want to sell it.
But that goes back to what I said earlier about the whole value part. Right now, we live in a society where everybody values how they want to do things. So if you were the type to pass a company down, them caring for it, your company wouldn't exist. If anything, they would sell your company and take the money and pour it into what they want to do.
Exactly.
So it's the concept of why would they value what you got going on? It's the same concept like when we were talking about the generational wealth thing. I always said, I like this generational wealth shit is stupid. I was like, when I hear generational wealth, it reminds me of the religion conversation of how everybody's worrying about an afterlife versus the life that they live in now. I got to be frank. This is stupid to me. You care more about a life they told you about than the one you can currently see directly in front of you. You trying to prepare for this after when you actually have a life now. To me, when it comes to the generational wealth, if you really understand the sacrificial part that goes into this, it don't even make sense when we think about it longevity wise, right? Because now we're looking at, okay, because one, if I want to push the concept of generational wealth, a lot of people think that they can enjoy the fruits of their labor at the same time. That's typically not how it works. When you attach it from a sacrificial point, that means it ain't even more so for my children. It's gonna be for the children that come after them, and then the ones that come after them. So if everybody is walking this lineage with a sacrificial mentality, at what point do anybody get to benefit the hard work that was put in? So you mean to tell me we're gonna have 10 generations of everybody making a sacrifice? At what point do somebody get the benefit? It's stupid.
That's a good point. That's a good fucking point.
I'm gonna sacrifice for my kids, but then for it to be generational wealth, they gotta want to sacrifice too. So they don't get to enjoy it. They just gotta put the work in. Then my grandkids gotta do the same thing. Because they thinking about their generation that come after. Then their grandkids gonna do the same. Their kids gonna do the same. Then their kids gonna do the same. Then their kids gonna do the same. So if everybody sacrifice, what the hell are we doing this for? Everybody's just gonna be sacrificing. What is the end goal? Somebody gotta get to enjoy this shit at some fucking point. This is stupid.
I never thought about it like that, but you make a good fucking point.
Like, what is all this sacrificing coming to? Because the whole point is for somebody to have to reap benefit. That's why I think people need to know. Enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Enjoy the fruits of your labor. Yeah.
I always said this. If I had to get rich today,
give them, pass the knowledge down to them, and whatever they decide to do.
My kids could never sit there and say, we rich. I'm gonna say, whoa. What do you mean we rich? No,
nigga, I'm rich.
No, your daddy rich. When you say this to people, you say, I have a rich father. You ain't rich, nigga. You just like everybody else. Now, the difference is you get to have the benefits of having a rich father.
Yeah.
So you can dance shit and go places because your daddy rich, but don't ever think you rich too. Now, you might become rich upon my death, but outside of that, you regular, my nigga. Ain't no richness coming your way at all. As long as I'm alive,
you're not entitled to this money either. Like, don't.
And that's gonna be the thing too, because it's gonna be like this. The only way y'all even gonna reap the benefits is if whoever my wife is at the time, something happened to her too, because she gonna be the primary beneficiary. So nigga, if I die, you still ain't rich. My wife is now rich. Now she happened to go to it. We die together. Jackpot. Now some people might say, well, damn, I might need to get rid of my daddy and them. Then if I can't get rich, then that's a whole other conversation we embarking on. I know everybody selfish. But I'm just saying, you're not rich, son or daughter, but your daddy could be rich.
Right, and you just get the benefits of being rich, and I could teach you how to get to where I'm at. If you want the knowledge, you could do what you want to do. You got the knowledge and the information to do it for yourself.
Oh yeah, like I would give them the game. Like
I gave you the game, so now it's time for you to build your own legacy.
So before we get up out of here, what is in y'all optician, because we talking around these concepts and things of this nature. What, in y'all opinion, what is the actual job of a parent? Because some people got different ideas, and that's the reason why I'm asking the question, because people do got different ideologies of what they think a parent's job is. The same way when they talk about men, women, they say a man's job is this, a woman's job is this. So it's one of them things, I guess, that becomes very subjective. So in y'all optician,
can I go first?
what is the parent's job? Go ahead.
Can I go first since both of y'all parents?
Go ahead.
I think the job of parents to prepare them to their 18 or 21, whatever y'all consider, for the real world. Teach them life lessons, but if they don't understand it and they want to learn the hard way, I mean, you tried your best. You taught them the best way you can. You taught them the knowledge that you knew that you did, your experience and all that. So after they get 18, 21, wherever y'all decide to let them leave the nest, I don't know, some might say longer. But Kevin, you know, Auntie Flossie, 18, she said, you get the fuck out of my house, you learn the hard way. You can learn. But so to learn life lessons, it would prepare them for the real world, basically. After 18, I mean, you have to learn on your own, or 21.
Okay. What you think about this? I am she.
You said the job of a parent.
Mm-hmm.
I think the job of a parent is just simply guiding your children, giving them the tools to navigate, this world. So whenever they do decide to leave your house, they know how to operate as young adults or adults. I think it's just that simple. I think people put too much into it, but it's just that simple. Like, whoever they decide that they want to be, you help them into that direction. Or if it go against your morals or values, then that's another story. But just guiding them to be the best version of themselves. Or by the time they leave your household, whenever they decide to leave, they equipped to navigate this world, and they have the tools and they have the knowledge. But I don't think parenting ever stops at a certain age or any of that. I think parenting stops at death, like, because you can always give your children wisdom as time go on. So
yeah. Oh, my bad. I'm talking about before we get up out of here. I got two more things. I got another question, and we got a clip. Damn, I'm tripping. So yeah, I definitely agree with what both of y'all said. I always said this, man. A parent's job is literally of those provisions, which simply means of while they are underage is the whole, feeding them, clothing them, instilling the knowledge within them. But even once that they become of adult, your job is still to help guide them through life. I always say this. I think that a parent who doesn't prepare their children for a life without them has failed to be a parent.
Yes, that is my biggest fear, to leave this world without first preparing them for this world without me.
Yep, I think that's what that is. Like I always say, I think your job is really the number one thing in your job is to make sure you are raising, upstanding citizens in society. Make sure you didn't put forth them tyrants and all kind of other stuff like that. Like that's your job as a parent. I think a lot of people now don't start throwing so much other stuff on this. It's like, man, your job is to make. Because one of the things when I was talking about with Kev too, I never understood this concept of having to well off your children. That's weird to me. Because I heard my granddaddy say once before that I had to come to the establishment of me being a man through my work ethics and how I came to be. And he was like, and every man should do the same. So how can he well you off when the same fundamentals that had to make him a man should have to have made my father a man, should have to make me a man, should then have to make my children a man? You have to become a man upon your own merits. You have to become who you are because of your own work. You have to have your own idea. So this whole welling them off doesn't make sense, because when you well them off, you're gonna get typically
they don't value it. You don't value anything that you don't earn.
Because it's just like how I say all the time, hard times create strong men, Strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. I see it all the time. So it's like a lot of what we don't understand and what we go through. This is just how it happens. All right. I got one more question, and then we'll get into the clip. I'm gonna pose the question first because I don't know what Chef Joe got going on. One of y'all said something, and it made me want to ask this question of what do y'all think about when y'all see parents that guilt themselves because of their children's decisions? Because you see, this is something you see often. Like they'll say that they believe that. Well, let me start over since Chef Joe just now jumped in. I was asking the question. I was asking the question of what are y'all thoughts when y'all see parents have that guilty mindset from their children's decisions, right? Like when their kids do certain things or say like they commit a crime or they kill somebody, certain stuff like that, and you get parents who start saying stuff like "I failed them."
Man, you ain't failed shit.
Get the fuck out of here!
Wait, calm down, guys. I'm asking this question because there are a lot of parents who do this, though. There are a lot of people who do this. That when their children do something, they be like, yo, I failed as a parent. Because a lot of people do believe that their job as a parent is really heavily predicated upon the outcome of how their children turned out. So it's a fair question. But now y'all can go ahead and give y'all thoughts and opinions to it. Chef Joe, we'll let you go first, since you seem like you was very adamant about addressing this.
Nah, she was cussing like hell.
I just said fuck. That's it.
Go ahead. What you think about that guilt?
Are
you a failure if your child turned out to be a tyrant?
No, because I hate to say it, the conversation you did the best you can is to explain to them life lessons. If you tell them like, look, like you say in the example, the oven hot, and the kid won't go touch it. When you learn a fucking valuable lesson, nigga, that shit hot. When I tell you to do something or explain to you like it's hot and try to teach you life lessons, like you all know. But kids coming up, you could tell them something, but like you say, this world, you got the Instagram, you got the TV, you got different shit, music that they listen to, and they think I'm gonna go rob this nigga to go make a quick come up. But you don't understand. There's a consequences for that. You do that, nigga. If you get caught, either you going to jail or the person go shoot you if they got trying to protect themselves. So no, you ain't fail. You try to teach them, but you only could teach somebody so much before they listen. Some people got to find out the hard way, and the hard way might not be living. You might be end up dead or in jail.
Okay.
So
what you think about this guilt? Is it your fault that you raised a tyrant, or she's just because we talk about girls? I guess what would be a horrible thing for a girl that would be a bad reflection?
Let's not even speak it to existence, because the only thing that could be for
I didn't say you. I said of girls. Like what would be a horrible thing for girls?
I guess being like promiscuous or being a teenage mom.
That'll be a couple.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Would you be guilty from your children's decisions?
You asking me personally, right?
Yes, me personally.
I would never be guilty about my kids' decisions. The way that I am instilling this knowledge into them and having certain conversations with them and explaining the consequences behind certain actions, if you decide to go find out that consequence, that is on you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people take accountability away from people when you try to be like, oh, I failed him. Or remember, I was having this conversation with you about when the guy got into the car accident and the mother was like, I should have took the keys. Like, no.
Yeah,
no, that was his decision to do that. So no, you shouldn't feel guilty of what somebody else's decision to do, especially when you explain to them and they actually know they know as well that this will not be a good outcome.
Go back
Right,
to what
right
I
and
said. A
wrong.
lot of times it ain't knowledge. It's just people don't give a fuck.
Yes, people
Mm-hmm.
just don't give a fuck. Like it don't matter what you instill, and like the example Josh used about people wanting to go rob and steal. It be people that be coming up in nuclear families that had everything that they wanted and still go gang bang and all this and that. It's because
drugs and everything, boy.
That's just something they wanted to do, or they wanted to be cool. That was some type of notoriety that they needed from their peers or whatever. But for them parents to be like, if that person get caught up, and for them parents to be like, "Oh, I didn't do a good enough job," hell no, hell
That's
no.
how
You're
Pusha said.
have me.
How Pusha said it. Pusha said what about what he said? Left by fathers who wouldn't deal with them, raised by mothers who couldn't build with them. That nigga said, I had both mine home. Let's keep it real, nigga. And all he talk about is selling drugs. Hey, sometimes it is the course, man, of what some people choose. But yeah, I agree with what y'all saying. But anybody who know me know, y'all know how I feel about when it comes to the concept of burdens. I don't burden myself with the decisions, no people. So I believe in allowing you to bump your head. Because if you're around me, I'm going to kick a lot of wisdom and I'm going to keep a lot of wise shit. If you choose not to follow a nigga, then that's just a choice on you. But you ain't going to never be able to say you didn't hear it because I repeat the same shit over and over and over again. My kids do that now. They be like, oh, Lord. And I like to run my mouth and I'll talk for a long time because people always tell me, if I don't want to let it go, I don't need you to talk back. I'm going to keep talking and then you're going to sit there and listen. I do it all the time. I don't see my kids all the time be saying and they be like, oh, Lord, yup, you fucked up now, nigga. Because you done now brought me into about 40 minutes of lecturing. And I'm going to sit right there and I'm going to talk for 40 minutes straight. And they gonna be sitting there looking. I done talked so long, nigga. I see the kids falling asleep. I'm a lecture. You don't want to hear what I got to say? Change. I always said that if you don't want to hear me complain about something, change what you're doing. Because I'm only talking like this because it's active in front of me. I ain't gonna lecture you about some shit that ain't going on. So, hey, guilt. Nah, I think matter of fact, when we had a show about guilt or something like that, I remember we kind of addressed. I was like, man, ain't nobody doing that. That's stupid. But
I don't want to be guilty. That's fucked up that you got in that situation. But
all right, Caprice. Go ahead and take care of this right here. Let's see what we got going on. What you got for us?
I have to. I gotta split this screen. Okay.
Past the baby stage as soon as autonomy shows up, and this is about about parenting. How we get you like. Yeah, and I just wanted to talk more about this. I work with babies now because I'm a baby photographer, and I think that when I go into rooms and I interact with a lot of the parents, I can tell which parents were ready to have a baby and which parents were ready to be a parent. There's a huge differentiation between people who want a baby and people who want to be parents, because a lot of people who want a baby only think about the baby stage. They only think about the stage where it's going to be a cute little infant. They're going to be able to take care of them. They're kind of completely under their control because they're completely reliant on the parent taking care of them. And they're small, they're cute, they're adorable. They're like little dolls. They don't have autonomy yet. But a lot of people, once that baby starts to have their own ideas, once the baby starts to talk and walk and starts to defy the parent a little more and starts questioning the world around them, then they don't want to deal with it anymore. I feel like a lot of the times it's the same type of people that once their kid turns 18, they're like, hands off, you're grown. I don't have to do anything with you anymore. Because they're not thinking about the fact that once you have a child, like you're taking care of that child for the rest of your life. Like, that's your kid. And sure, obviously.
All right. That was the first part.
Oh, it was multiple parts?
I mean, there's like responses to that video. But that's what else.
We're going to look at the response?
You want to look at it right now? You don't want to talk about what just happened?
I mean, if we're going to address it, let's address it in pieces.
Yeah, that's why stopped it.
All right. So what y'all think about What was that?
Wait, don't do that.
What was,
Don't do that.
what was that? First of all,
Don't do that.
well, I was about to pronoun it, so I was like, "What is it?" I was about to say what she said, but I was like, "I'm pretty sure that was a guy."
It was a guy.
I'm pretty sure. All right, so y'all know, listen, y'all know, y'all know, listen.
Yeah.
All right, let me address what was this. So yeah, what y'all think about what he said about the around the whole parents I guess ready to have babies but not actually ready to be parents as far as raising their children past the infant years or toddler years, more so to say.
Mm-hmm.
What y'all think about it?
I think it's a valid point. I think it's a true point because a lot of people that's parents don't like to be questioned by their kids. You know, they always be like, I'm the adult, don't question me, or I'm grown, don't ask me no questions. When it's like you raising a whole human that needs his own identity, his own thought process and everything. So you should want to answer these questions, even if you feel like it
Get on your nerves.
gets on your nerves or offends you or whatever. Because like
Yeah.
even with me, like my kids ask me certain questions. I mean, now it doesn't offend me, but you know, I even ask them questions, which like, are you satisfied with, you know, how I communicate with you or whatever? And if they be like, oh well, I don't like how sometimes you be yelling and stuff, but that's not the example. They don't say that, but my kids don't have no problem with telling me, or if I tell them like I'm gonna work on not cursing as much, and if I say one curse, my daughter will hold me accountable and be like, I thought you said you was gonna stop cursing, instead of her looking at it like, oh, I must curse too because my mom cursed. If you know I said I don't want to be doing it, she look at it as like, didn't you say you didn't want to be doing it? So, you know, a lot of people don't like to be questioned by their kids or their kids that have their own identity.
What do you think about it, Chef Joe?
I mean, yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I mean, but like we stated, period. Most parents or people who have kids didn't plan on having it. They don't. I mean, I guess they're not mentally ready to have kids because sometimes, like you say, some people don't give a fuck and they purposely have kids on purpose, or sometimes it might be a slip up. So I mean, that shit hard. Like, you don't want kids, take the necessary precaution not to have them, and you be fine. You ain't got to go through the problem of, like having kids, like they getting on your nerves and all that.
See, the thing is not that they don't want to have kids. The thing is that they don't want their kids to be their own person.
Yeah, but I don't think that's most people.
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes back to what I said in the beginning about Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood means you're thinking your parenthood out from the time you have them to college.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay.
Planned Parenthood. Most people aren't doing Planned Parenthood. Most people ain't even having a plan. They oop babies.
Mm-hmm.
They simply irresponsible when it comes to sex, and then now they're
Mhm.
pregnant. So now they're just making decisions to have the children. So I understand what is being said in the video. I just don't think, I think that's a minute side. Most people ain't thinking about having the kids in general. It ain't got nothing to do
Yeah.
with the identity part. They didn't want the child. I'm talking about
Yeah.
duration. People
Yeah.
like the idea of saying, yeah, children cute or whatever may have you, but they not wanting kids for a particular time. Most people don't want them kids at all. Because of some of them other things that could go into it, yes. But no, these people ain't want these kids at all. And most people don't want the work that goes behind it. Because like how in the video, like how the brother said, that when it comes to that, the child is dependent on you and there's not much say so. But most people, hold on, let's get it twisted. Most people don't like that stage. Most people don't even like them when they're that young. Most people say, like I always say, man, I need that nigga to be a little mobile. I always say that. I don't like the infant stage. I hate that having to hold the baby and all. I like that nigga to be crawling, climbing, walking. I don't like the infant stage. I always say that. I don't like that stage. That shit's stupid because they boring. Them children are boring as hell. All they do is sleep, cry, and sleep, and shit up. Cry, sleep, shit up. Cry, eat, sleep, shit up. I always say that's a boring stage. I don't like that stage either. I like them more once you can start pouring into them. I don't like them niggas when they just there.
Yeah, they cute or whatever, but like,
and half of them ain't even cute. Half of them look like aliens, especially newborn. I can't stand when people talk about newborn babies cute. Them niggas, I ain't never in my life saw a cute newborn baby.
I ain't fuck with you, bro.
I've never seen a cute newborn baby. Even me.
I ain't fuck with you.
Even me. I ain't never seen it. Most newborn babies.
I ain't gonna lie. Both of my kids was cute straight out the womb. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna hold you. They look like no aliens. I said mine.
Okay, so Capri's giving off her biases. Like I said, I've never seen a cute newborn baby. Them motherfuckers' head ain't even adjusted right. Them motherfuckers.
I didn't have any of those problems with my kids. So I can't speak. I'm not lying.
No. I didn't say you lying. I didn't say you lying. I said you biased because you're doing what most women say about their children.
No, I can show you a picture straight out the womb, like on my chest, as soon as they pull it out the womb.
I bet don't. Well, we'll have that conversation offline because when I started talking about how they look like an alien, when we get defended, most people kids look like fucking aliens. I'll cut that shit out.
But
no, they would. And matter of fact, I know. All right, well, I'll wait till we get offline.
Yeah, don't. They cute.
I'm about to say my favorite one. I was about to pick at. I was about to say, we're not doing that. Mm-mm.
They cute at the baby stage. I mean, like at least. To you.
I'm not talking about his baby. I'm saying newborn now.
Yeah, well, I'm speaking to they cute, but I don't like the baby stage because I want them to be able to walk around. I want them to be able to do things when they own. This whole me being there for you for everything. I don't like. It's too much, and I got to give you my body. I got to give you it's a lot. Like,
but that's why I was saying too that most people don't even want that stage.
Yeah.
Most people don't want that stage. We're talking about after they done get beyond that. You know how many people don't like the infant stage? A lot of people don't like that stage.
But like you said earlier, most people don't like kids, but they have them. Like, what's the fucking point of having kids if they don't want them?
Because they didn't they tie moral issues to it.
Mm-hmm. I'd be like, damn, like I took the necessary precaution not to have none, so I know I don't want none. But damn, motherfuckers don't take the necessary precaution. Like that just crazy to me.
All right, Caprice, what you got on this clip?
We're gonna just do one more response, and
yeah, because I'm about to say because I am trying to go past 2 hours.
People don't have the capacity to love their kids past the baby stage as soon as autonomy shows.
Now, I don't want to get cancelled, so don't hear what I'm not saying, but that is true. I think a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking that your child is a literal extension of yourself in the sense that they're meant to have the same values, opinions, make the same decisions you did, and etc. And I do think this is why the toddler stage is so jarring for a lot of people, because that's at the stage that children are like, wait a second, I want to make my own decisions. I want to have a bit more independence. I want to have a bit more control. They've gone minimum the first year or two having to have everyone do things for them. You know, they can't walk, they can't really talk. So when they start to find their words, find their voice, they're like, I want to use this. This is why I don't even like phrasing like the terrible twos, because in my opinion, the only thing that a lot of people are saying is terrible is the fact that your child starts to use their voice. They start to say things like no, they start to want to do things by themselves. They want a bit more control. What's really terrible about that? And I'm not trying to undermine people's experience. I know parenting is hard. I have a toddler right now and she knows how to use her voice. But in my opinion, I'd rather my child, for example, knows how to use no with me or understands that they do have bodily control. So when they go out in the word, they believe it.
A lot of people.
I will say this though, a lot of parents, and this come up from a lot of them older, old school parents. That whole do as I say, not as I do is some bullshit.
As I do,
yeah. What did I do as I say, not as I do? Or when parents say, I shouldn't have to explain myself. Like, I think when you have a child, the number one thing you have to do all the time is explain yourself. Because how your children gonna learn without explanation? I think a lot of people, but I think it goes back to the case of what Josh was saying. If you're not willing to do what's necessary, why do it? Because that is the result. Those sayings are results of people who didn't want them children in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would you then not think you got to explain yourself to a child that know? Because kids ask why about a lot of stuff. Why? Hey, clean your room. Why? Most people get mad. What do you mean? Why? You clean because I said so, but why not explain why? Exactly. I think if you do a better job of explaining, you actually can cut back on the whole thing of like the physical beatings and stuff like that people get into. Because I always say this, you don't have to take the physical assault route, but there are instances where it do become that. Like when people talk about taking things off the table, I think that's stupid to remove things off the table completely. Mm-hmm. But I do understand that you don't have to go these routes, especially if you use other methods. You know what I'm saying? I think there are plenty of other methods, but I think number one, when it comes to discipline, all you got to really do is understand your child. Mm-hmm. And then you can know what actually correlates more as a disciplinary method when it comes to the child. Because some kids are way more scarier way before the concept of even talking about hitting them. You can scare them way before you even got to talk about hitting them. Mm-hmm. So it's like that don't even have to come into play. And then you got some kids who just don't give a fuck.
You got to hit them.
There's some kids that don't give a fuck. And you can talk as much as you want. And you can be like, oh, I'm going to take your video game. I'm going to take your Game Boy. I'm going to take.
They only respond to physical those types.
So I think your disciplinary methods have to suit the children in which that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as the video, I mean, I don't really think she said much of nothing that really requires
explaining. Like we agree on that.
I really just spoke to what Homeboy was saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think like even if you use do what I say, not as I do. If you're gonna use that, then you should explain yourself whenever they ask you something. If you're telling me to do as you say, not as you do, because like if I say, oh, I had children out of wedlock, do as I say, not as I do, don't follow the same route. I need to explain why. Don't just say do as I say, not as I do, and then cut it off there and expect me to actually do what you say. Like,
no, I agree with that. All right, man. Y'all know how we normally do. Y'all need to run y'all plugs, or y'all think the people already know? Y'all originals, man. We ain't really.
You need to run your plug.
Go ahead. What is it?
Wow. It's Humble Beginnings _official.
That's on what?
Instagram.
Okay. See, I mean, I gotta ask that because
you don't run it.
I still don't have Instagram, so it's like, wow, I can't look it up. Yeah. But you still get to see my beautiful face wherever you go, so that's really all that matters.
Lies. You just see somebody working out.
You're a lie. You know you've been seeing them clips. Stop lying. It's only one thing of me working out in the shirt. That's it.
Y'all stupid. All right, y'all. Until the next time. Peace.
Peace out.
You